What's up, y'all? So this video, we're going to be talking about some things you can start doing today to start winning more gunfights in 1v1s. This is a common video made, but I see a lot of people trying to break it down in the firing range 1v1s, which isn't realistic for fights in real games, or they just oversimplify it. This video, I'm going to give you 5 tips to instantly make you better, and then break down a couple clips showing how you can implement them into your gameplay. Alright, let's get into it. One of the most important things here obviously is aim. If you're not hitting your shots, nothing else matters, but for the sake of this video, we're assuming you already have decent aim, but still seem to lose a lot of 1v1s. So my first tip here is, if you're fighting in an open space like around this close of range, you should probably be hip firing. Most guns in this game have good hip fire spreads, so this won't affect your accuracy too negatively, and it has a couple positives. First of all, your movement won't be slowed, so you can still stay difficult to hit. Secondly, you can turn more quickly, and lastly, since you're not looking down your sights, your screen will be more clear and it will be easier for you to track enemies. Apex has a lot of visual clutter, so keeping your sightline as clear as possible is really important. My second tip is to always be moving. Unless your enemy isn't looking at you at all, you should always be moving. I cover a lot of this in my strafing guide, which I'll link in the video in description, but I will bring up crowd strafing again. It's recommended too often, but it's strongest in super close range fights when you're hip firing. Movement isn't just limited to strafing though. It's just as important to know how to use cover when fighting. There are a few different techniques you can use here that I'll show you. The cover feint. Fake like you're taking cover, and when your opponent fully commits to pushing, you peek for free shots. Jiggle peek. Quickly going in and out of cover to pop a few shots. This works really well with single fire guns and shotguns. The jump peek, which is you just peek over cover with a jump, slide through, sliding out or past cover with a speed boost from a slide. Wall bounce, this is really popular, bouncing off a wall out of cover to force your opponent to aim higher than expected. And finally, the backslide, which I think is really underrated. You can slide with no momentum if you jump backwards, which is very hard to track because of the speed boost. The key here is to remain unpredictable. Don't peek the same angle too many times or you're just going to get beamed. Some of these techniques are easier to implement than others, but they all have their occasional uses. People like to gas up wall bounces, but honestly, you barely get a chance to actually use these in fights. Third tip, move based on your weapons. When you're 1v1, the strafing speed of your weapon is the most noticeable. If you're a light machine gun user and find yourself losing a lot of 1v1s in the mid-range, it's because to the other person, regardless of how well you strafe, you're not moving very much. The solution to this is to change the way you move and to play around cover based on your weapon choice. For example, if you're using a light machine gun, you'll have to play around cover with different peaks more than a player with an SMG. If you're using an SMG, you can use your movement speed and hip fire spread to your advantage to make yourself harder to hit. This next tip is somewhat related to the last tip about movement, but it's to play to your Legends abilities. Legends like Octane or Wraith are more agile than legends like Jibby, so you have to use that to your advantage. Octane's fighting in gunfights should try to stay stemmed up. The speed boost is such a huge advantage. The same goes for Bloodhounds, who are ulted, and Bangalores with their passive activated. All 3 of these legends are great for gunfights because of their speed. A legend like Gibraltar should focus less on movement and more on keeping their arm shield up and hitting their shots. Movement is less important on a thick boy like Jibby, so you should take advantage of their extra health and try to straight up outdamage them. A few other quick examples of legend abilities to give boost in 1v1 situations is Mirage creating distractions quickly, or Horizon floating up in the air quickly. The last thing I want to talk about is reloading. Unless you're only using the Spitfire, it's something you definitely want to improve with. First of all, it's always quicker to change guns than reload, but depending on your gun loadout, it might not be worth it. I tend to run 2 short to mid-range guns, so I usually swap, but if I have a gun like the Scout as my secondary, I'll make my decision based on how much damage I initially dealt. For example, if I have an R9 and only did 50 damage with my first clip, it's not worth switching to my Scout because I'll have to do 100 plus damage close range with a gun that struggles close range, so I'll reload. However, if I do 150 damage with my first clip, I'll swap weapons and bet on myself at hitting 1 or 2 shots hip firing. Obviously, if you're reloading mid-fight, you want to use cover, but that's not always an option, so the alternative is turning to the side to thin out your hitbox and crouch strafing forwards and backwards, Or what also works really well is a jump slide. You can slide with no momentum if you jump first, and it's really difficult to track. Now let's look at a couple clips showing some of these in action. Here I have a 1v2 at containment. I'm trying to use these boxes as cover to isolate the targets. Once I realized these two people have the same angle on me, I decided I need to drop down quickly and get some cover. Here I'm trying to hold this one door while I pop this battery, and I'm watching the other door for his teammate. I'm trying to feel out the Wraith here. I can't push out because they're holding the door, so I stem backwards to force them to make a play. After I run back, I realize she's still chasing, so I use a cover feint to get an easy knock on her. Now I just have a simple one-on-one on her teammate who still hasn't healed, so it's an easy wipe. Playing the clip up one more time without pauses so you can see I use a lot of techniques here with my cover and ability usage and taking advantage of my SMG hipfire and strafing. Here we have a 1v2 again. This time I'm playing the cover to my left. Breaking this Pathfinder shield early lets me get a nice isolated 1v1 on the rampart. I get aggressive here to try and finish the fight quickly before the Pathfinder is done healing. Then I get immediately back into cover. I run a little too far here, but the Pathfinder is still missing because I'm moving too quick, and then I reload in cover again. Those tips conclude my guide on winning more gunfights in Apex Legends. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And let me know if there's anything else you want to see a guide on. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter, @KobeTrust. Thanks again for watching. Peace.
Y'all gonna realize it's a death sentence.